Artie, Zen. Yeah. Look, we're just gonna throw some bars in, have a bit of a laugh, have some fun. Hope you guys like it. Much love. You know it is. Come on, you ones.
Hello and welcome back to Green Street Leach. Sorry, I nearly forgot what bloody channel it was. I'm a little bit flustered because I've got an absolute bona fide legend with me, Charlie Walsh. Charlie, how are you, sir?
You keep saying this, and it's just far from true. I'll take it. Don't get me wrong, I'll take it, but incorrect. I'm fine, thank you, sir. How are you, Budgie? How are you?
I'm brilliant. I'm absolutely brilliant. I'm stoked that you've agreed to do this with me, mate, because, you know, I admire and respect everything that you do. And, it's, for me, this is quite a coup, having you on here. So,
I mean, you say that like I'm not an idiot sat with Danny DeVito next to me. Do you know what I mean? Like you say it as if, like, if it was real Danny DeVito, I'd probably agree with you. But unfortunately, it is not to ruin the illusion. It is cardboard. So I'll take. Don't get me wrong. I will take it. I will take it. I just will vehemently disagree.
All right. Okay. Fair play. So this is all about being a West Ham fan, basically. It's kind of an intro to, well, not an intro, but it's like a get to know me kind of session. First of all, you're a well-established and well-known and very highly respected YouTuber and presenter of many, many different sports. So tell us a little bit about that, Charlie.
I mean, again, I don't know if I'm well respected. So we've been doing we've been doing it a long time at this point. We were like the third West Ham YouTube channel to exist, really, after West Ham Fan TV being going about 6 months when we started ish, and then Hammer and Talk, who no longer does it, had been around just before us as well. But yeah, we've been doing it ever since then, really, and it's just weird, isn't it? It's just weird, Budgie, because I remember me and Gio, who I run Hammers Chat with, or I say run Hammers, Gio and Gonzo run Hammers Chat. I'm just about. But we had conversations from the very beginning about how we can grow and how we can do this. And I remember having conversations about like, oh my God, we might hit 100 subscribers soon and stuff like that. And like now when I do the watch alongs, there's sometimes 400 people watching me live. And that's like 400 people at once. And then you look at the numbers after it and there's like, 25,000 people watch this. And it's just insane to think about because it doesn't really make sense to me at all. Because again, as previously stated, idiot Danny DeVito, it's not something that makes sense at all to me.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I think you grossly underestimate your status in this game, really. I mean, the thing is that, like, anyone that knows anything about YouTubing with like a West Ham theme, etc., I mean, everybody knows your name, Charlie. So, I mean, I knew about you before I'd ever met you or had even spoken to you in a chat scenario, So, the thing is, you are kind of, you're like one of the ones to listen to. Do you know what I mean? And your watch-alongs are amazing. I mean, they're brilliant. Honestly, I don't often get the opportunity to do the watch-along because I'm usually drunk and I'm usually in the pub watching the game, or I'm at the stadium or something like that. But and I've only been going back to the stadium since the beginning of this season. Actually, the first game I went to since 1986 was the Palace game when we drew against them. So,
I knew it was a while, but I never knew it was that long.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, having children and
of course,
family issues and mental health issues, etc. It kind of took its toll, and it went from I'll have a couple of years off to best part of 30 years without a game under my belt, So, but you know, even so, you know, when I first, see, I didn't discover fan YouTubing or fan TV or anything until the first lockdown, if I'm honest. And to be fair, I was introduced to it by a Tottenham fan, and I know that really grates on most people. But I went to a friend of mine who's a Tottenham fan. I went to his house, and he was sitting there watching a couple of, I think they're twins or brothers. They do a stream for Tottenham.
They might be called We Are Tottenham TV. I know the people you mean. I can't remember.
That's the ones. Yeah, that's the ones. Yeah. My mate was watching them, and I said, you know, is there anything else we can watch? You know, like, I don't know, In the Night Garden or Teletubbies or anything other than Tottenham TV, you know. And he was like, no, I like this. And so I had to sort of endure it. But it done me a favour, because then I sort of thought, well, maybe there's stuff for West Ham.
Yeah.
And I started finding it. First one I found was Peach, West Ham Random, because I just typed in West Ham Fan TV, and that was one of the first ones that come up. And there was one or two others, and Hammer's Chat was one of the first also, you know. I mean, probably one of the first three that I found.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of watching the content, and I didn't join in the live chat because I didn't know how for a start. But then when I did, first time I ever kind of commented, you read out my name and my comment, and I was like, I like that. I really like that, you know. Because at the time nobody knew me as Budgie. I didn't even know me as Budgie. It was Happy Amaret and Beanie that gave me that nickname. But you know, I was just there in the chat as Clive Treeliving, you know, and you called out my name and so on and so forth, and I was like, I like that. And then it happened again on West Ham Network, and then it happened obviously on Random, and Peach invited me on, and that's where we start. That's where I started. But you know, tell me a little bit more about your live streams, Charlie. I mean, where does the Baby Bell thing come from? And if those of you out there that aren't aware, there's, as Charlie said, there could be up to 400 or 500 people in the chat, and then when you've got 70 or 80 of them calling out for Baby Bell, what's it about, Charlie? Tell me about it.
Well, it's about, the thing is, so I don't take stuff too seriously. Like I think a lot of time when you do football YouTube and you look around football YouTube, a lot of people take it very, very seriously, and that's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, but I think, as you know, me as a person, I'm not someone who takes life particularly that seriously. And so,
well, clearly not when you're messaging me last night when you've got 2 hours to go until you're on the live stream. You know, and you needed to get some sleep. So, you know, clearly you don't take anything.
No clue what you're talking about there. I never take stuff too seriously. And so when we first started doing the watch-alongs, which was beginning of lockdown, actually. Well, when games came back after that lockdown period when there was no games. I like doing a lot. I like doing lots of stupid things. And so one of the original things I did, because again, I had seen watch-alongs before that other clubs had done. United Stand, for example, is a big one who does it for Manchester United and stuff. I'd seen them around, and I'd watch bits and pieces, and I knew that I can't do what they do, because I'm just not that kind of guy. So we'll do whatever we do. And it was myself and young Tom at the time. And so one of the things I did was I had a second camera set up aiming downwards at my sort of desk. And that was called Food Cam. And so what that was is whenever I was eating, I would switch to the food cam. So the food cam would come on the screen and I could talk you through my wares. Was it pizza, bacon sandwiches? Right? So from the very start, we sort of established that, look, A, I'm not taking myself seriously, and B, I will be eating. I will eat very publicly on the stream. Because again, a lot of people dead serious, like can't do this, can't do that. You've seen, I think we've been on shows before where I've eaten a bowl of cereal with a teaspoon. Like I just, whatever, man. It just is what it is. Right? So that eventually developed. About December 2020, Tom left Hammer's Chat, and it was just me doing it by myself. And it was always difficult to eat then, because the beauty of doing it with someone else is while you're shoving food in your mouth, they talk.
Yeah.
So you can quite easily do it, right? So I stopped. So there was a long time where I was still trying to figure out the balance of what I wanted to do. And there was one stream where I was just super hungry, like super. I was like, I need to eat. And it was probably because I'd woken up to do the stream, and got up, sat down, I hadn't eaten yet. And the only thing that was close was an orange. So I ate the orange, right? And then I made a big show and tell of it. I was like peeling it on camera, being like, watch this, I'm going to take the peel off in one go, and all this other stupidity. I was like, whatever. And then about 2 minutes later, we scored. West Ham scored. And then everyone started going, fuck, it's the orange. Eat another orange. It's lucky. It's the orange.
We're always looking for an angle, aren't we?
So I was like, all right, fine. For the bants, I'll eat another orange, right?
Yeah.
Grab another orange, eat it. We score again like 3 minutes later. And it was like, oh, my God, it's actually the orange. Eat another orange. We were 2-0 down. I can't remember what match it is. I think we were like 2-0 down. So I eat a third orange. We scored again. And then the chat was saying two things at that point. Half the chat was screaming, eat the fourth, eat the fourth, eat a fourth orange. And I'm going, I can't eat 4 oranges in a row. That's just going to destroy my stomach. That's such a bad, for someone who already has stomach problems, that's such a monumentally bad idea.
I get that, because I've got a stomach ulcer. So go on.
Yeah, so I couldn't do that. But then so I was like, I can't do that. And then the other half of the chat started shouting, then if you can't, then eat the skin, because I just had the skin that was there. And then at some point that combined to where I had like 200-ish people just shouting the word foreskin at me, just going, foreskin. And I was like, oh my God, I've created a monster. So then what would happen is the next game come around and we go 1-0 down or whatever. And everyone goes, right, Charlie, bust out the oranges. And then I would go and get an orange and eat an orange on camera. And because West Ham were quite good for a while, we would score straight after. But everyone's like, oh my God, it's the lucky orange. And everyone gone
lucky orange, yeah.
Then a little while ago, about 6 months ago or something, I went to my doctor's because of my stomach problem. Yeah. And we had a big conversation about like how I can deal with it. Like, because I feel sick every night. It's a whole shebang, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes, well, I mean, there's a list of food that's with your specific condition you should probably avoid. And I'm like, all right. And he goes, let's go through them. He goes, do you eat, let's start at the top. Do you eat a lot of oranges? And I'm like, what you doing Saturday, 3:00? Because not only would I eat them, I would just unpeel it and then shove it in my mouth in one go.
Yeah. Publicly.
Yeah. And then just go for it. And it was a whole thing. And so he was like, yeah, just cut down on them. So I was like, right, I can't eat them. I just can't. And so next game we go 1-0 down and everyone starts going, well, you can eat an orange. I was like, I can't. The doctor. I explained the story. I say, doctor said blah, blah, blah. And they go, what have you got? And I'm like, I don't know, Baby Bells. And so they go, right, eat a Baby Bell. I eat it. We score. Everyone goes, the Baby Bells are lucky now.
It's the Baby Bells.
It's the Baby Bells. And again, the chat being the way the chat works, that then developed into people just shouting, Bell, get your bell out, get your bell out, Bell, all of this sort of stuff.
Well, actually, on that point, that was when I actually entered the chat one day. And I entered the chat and I just saw this comment, get your bells out. And I went, what? Has that been misspelt or something? You know what I mean? I was thinking, hang on, what kind of bloody stream have I tuned into here? And then out came the Baby Bell, and the story was then told, and so I kind of got it. But mate, so roughly, how much do you spend a year on Baby Bells?
I mean, the bigger problem is that my girlfriend really likes them as well, and so I'll buy like a bag, and I won't eat them any other time but match day. Because I'll just be like, I'll have it on. I'm guaranteed to eat one at some point during that match. So I'll just leave it or whatever. Yeah. But she will just go through them. So, a fair old amount. Thankfully, you get a little pouch full of them, full of bells.
Yeah.
So, but,
brilliant.
So you got speculate to accumulate, Budgie. Do you know what I mean? You got to spend.
Yeah, of course, definitely. You it's quite legendary now, though, isn't it? You know, the Baby Bell thing. You know?
It's very, yeah. I've got like a graphic that comes up on the screen, and because a lot of people come into the chat wanting to watch the game, and obviously I can't put the game up because that would break YouTube rules, copyright laws. It would be a bad idea. So I can't do it. So I have this graphic that someone who watches me made, and I didn't even know who this person was. Like, I'd seen them in the chat, but I didn't know who they were. And I didn't know they were making it. And out of nowhere, one day after a game, about a couple of hours after the game, they said, "Head, I made this. You can use it if you want." And it was a video, like a little animation graphic that would come up on screen that would show the steps of how to join West Ham's the Hammers Chat Discord, in which we have links to all of the streams.
All of the streams,
because that's where that's where I was doing them. I was saying to people, "Hey, but if you click on this join our Discord thing below, then you could blah blah blah." But that's obviously difficult. So if you just have a thing on screen, and he put Baby Bells on the animation. There was like Baby Bells, and he'd replaced the bit in the middle where it says Baby Bell with hammers and stuff. And I was like, at this point, this is just part of the branding of my life. At this stage, it really is. And the amount of times I'll get people just talking to me about Baby Bells, and like people will send me pictures of Baby Bells when they're eating them and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is just where we're at in life, which I'm totally okay with because I'm an idiot. But it's a whole thing.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So, as I said, I've witnessed the Baby Bell frenzy, and it's actually quite funny. It's quite funny at times, you know. I mean, when you're trying to watch and be serious about how the team are performing and etc., and then someone shouts, "Get your bells out!" It's a little bit off-putting, let's be honest. But it is funny. I mean, and you know, it kind of it's something to look forward to on the stream. You know, it's like
people have whole discussions about it.
Chat. Yeah, it's
people in the chat are like, "Oh, should we?" Because the new system now. So you have to develop these ideas into a whole bit, which is what I do, right? That's my specialty, is making things a bit that shouldn't be a bit, right? And so I have a system now where someone will call for the Baby Bells. So they'll put in the chat, "We need bells now. Get your bell out." Start putting bell emojis in the chat, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if two other people start calling for the bells, then I put a poll up in the chat, which everyone votes on, which says bell, yes or no. And then if that passes, then I'll go get a bell. And then I make sure when I'm eating the bell, I'll say, "Boys, get your bells out in chat," you know, and then we'll all, you can like whatever. But it is like a whole song and dance of like, I think it's something that everyone can do that's stupid, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of a signature note to your watch-alongs as well, isn't it? You know, it kind of underlines everything else that you do.
Yeah.
You know, people are obviously interested in, you know, your commentary and, you know, the chat that goes in between the commentary. And, you know, and like, you know, the channels that I've been involved with, and unlike some other channels, you tend to, you know, invest quite a lot of your time in, you know, talking with the guys in the live chat, or guys and girls, you know, and you make the live chat an integral part of the show, and I really like that, because, you know, you're doing it for the people that are watching, to be fair. You know, and for them people to have their name, and trust me, I'm one, you know, that experienced it. Oh, there goes the phone again. To have your name read out and have your comment read out on screen, for someone that doesn't do this, that doesn't appear on camera and so on, level, it's actually quite a thing, you know, to a lot of people. And you know, so, you know, I admire anyone that involves the live chat, because that's who we do it for. You know, I mean, it's, you know, although we're recording this, you know, I will be premiering this so that we can have a live chat. You know, and obviously, you know, it would be great if you could attend that. Obviously, if you're busy on the, you know, but what we'll probably do is we'll arrange it for a time that's convenient for you. I did the same with Lawrence, and I did the same with Cam. So yeah. So this, I think, it's
one of those things. If I say it, and I'll drop Charlie for a second to be serious. I think I grew up watching. I was alone in West Ham because my only other the reason I'm a West Ham fan, like most people, is because my dad. But my dad was from West London. I'm from North London. We didn't know West Ham fans. No one else in the family was West Ham fans. It was just me and my dad.
Right.
And so I watched it purely and I grew up in North London as well. So obviously everyone was either Arsenal, Tottenham, or Manchester United for whatever reason. And so like I grew up like practically just alone watching West Ham matches by myself, apart from when I was watching with my dad. And then when my dad passed away when I was 15, that was it. I really did just watch it by myself, and I went by myself, and I had like a season ticket up until just before, like when we spoke briefly before this, when I was an accountant and I could actually afford things like a season ticket. I had a season ticket up until just before the last season at the Boleyn. The last season at the Boleyn was the first one I didn't have a season ticket for ages. Which what a error that was, but there you go. That's what happens. That's what happens when you leave accountancy and all of a sudden have to think about what you spend money on. But I would just go to games by myself. It wasn't like I would go, and I don't drink either, and I didn't know anyone, so I literally would just go to the game for kickoff, go to my season ticket seat in the East Stand, watch the game, enjoy myself, like watching the game, whatever, then get the train straight back home again. It wasn't like I was seeing anyone or talking to anyone. And like, so when I started, when we started Hammers Chat and stuff, all of a sudden I have a group of people I can go to games with, you know, because like Gio, Gonzo, all of our friends, like Young Tom and Bears and Nikki, and there's like a bunch of people, like, and then those people grow and there's more people to come, like just before lockdown, like me and Rebecca became really good friends and stuff like that. You grow into your group, right? So all of a sudden I had people to go with. But I know like there's a lot of people who can't go to games for whatever reason. And, you know, I think everyone can find whatever channel suits them most. Like people come into my chat and they'll say stuff like in the watch along, they'll be like, "You're such an idiot. Why are you doing this, that, and the other?" And I'm like, bro, I don't mind if you think I'm an idiot. I think I'm an idiot as well, to be fair. But I don't mind if you think I'm an idiot. There's 100 West Ham channels. You can go and watch a different one. Like you could go like live streaming just the watch alongs. West Ham Network, West Ham Fan TV, JP, like, and now this was before, but now obviously Hammers Fans United are doing it. You know, there's loads of people who do it. Someone out there will be the exact type of person you want to see do it. But like, I think by me being myself and then also trying to speak to the chat and getting involved with that, in my mind, it's like it's what I would want if I was in that position. I would want someone who's not being themselves and then just like having fun with the chat. And that's kind of what it is. It's like a place where people can get together almost like friends to enjoy a match together and not like and not feel you know. And again, we did it during lockdown, and it does when everyone feel that was way. Separate, you know. Yeah,
and it does feel that way. You know, as I said, I've been in a few of your watch-alongs, and it kind of does feel like it's just a bunch of mates watching the game together. You know, and you know, even though you can't actually feel the atmosphere physically, you kind of get a sense of the atmosphere that everybody's feeling from the comments and stuff in the chat, and it is, you know, it kind of brings a sense of community to the watch along. You know, I mean, I could be sitting there in my bedroom on my own watching it, but I feel like I've got 100 people behind me. Do you know what I mean? And that's the beauty of what, you know, what it is that you do, Charlie, because as I said, you know, you do involve the chat and you do, you know, you go above and beyond. I mean, 4 oranges in a stream. That's just
that was no, that was beyond. I'll give you that one. That one was definitely beyond. There's a level, right? And what that was too far. That was too. And I've never done that again. And I'll tell you for this for free and with certainty, I will never do it again because that was a bad idea. That was a bad idea. But
So you've briefly brushed over one of my questions, which was how you became a West Ham fan and why you became a West Ham fan. Obviously, as a West Ham fan, you're aware as much as any of us are that, you know, life can be full of trials and tribulations as a West Ham fan. You know, 1 minute we're fighting relegation and the next minute we're fourth in the championship, in the Premiership, my apologies. You know, it's kind of a roller coaster ride being a Claret and Blue supporter, you know, being a West Ham fan. So how many years has it been since, or how long has it, not how many years, but how long has it been since you've been able to actually get to a live game, bearing in mind that you're doing your watch alongs and everything on a weekly basis?
Yeah, I haven't been. So when I haven't been since lockdown, basically. So the last game before lockdown, which was Southampton at home, was the last game I went to. And being real about it, I don't know when the next game I'll get to is. We obviously do the watch along.
I mean, you've got your commitments with what you do, you know.
And being honest about it, like, don't get me wrong, obviously going to the games is a whole different thing. But in the situation the world is in right now, I was one of the first people to receive the vaccine because of I've got issues with my body. But then also I live super close to my girlfriend's parents who also have problems like that. And like, it's a case of it's better not to risk it right now. And obviously you've got commitments. And again, being also real, there's an element of work about it. And so I don't know when the next one I'll get to go to is. I'll have to play it by ear. We'll see. There's been one or two times where I almost went this season, but stayed and did the watch along instead. So we'll see. But it's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, a lot of people will miss the watch along and the element that you bring to that. I mean, it's all very well that Gio or Gonzo or next man could take over and do the watch along for you, so that you can go to a live game, and that would be admirable and probably very exciting for you. But the watch along just wouldn't be the same for the 400, 500 people out there that tune in every time. It just wouldn't be the same. And I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that you don't ever go to another game, because I would actually dearly love to go to a game with you and have a beer with you. Oh, I know you don't drink, but have a social moment with you. It would be lovely. But on the other hand, I wouldn't want to deprive 400 or 500 people of the element that you bring to a watch along, which is completely unique and very enjoyable, I have to say. But
I'll take it.
Well, humbly, I know I get that. Away games. Have you able to get to many away games in your time as a supporter?
The first West Ham match I went to was Leyton Orient away. It was a pre-season friendly, and I think it was 2003. I want to say it was, and that remains the only away game I've ever gone to. And I think it's just because of money. I just can't. One of the things is I didn't go to that many West Ham matches when I was a kid. When we dropped down into the Championship under Roda, that was when I started going to games, because all of a sudden, fairly frequently, there would be kids for £1 and you could get tickets at the door. And so I could afford to go, because I grew up, my dad's the reason I'm a fan, but my mum and dad split up when I was 3. And so there wasn't a lot, it wasn't like there was a lot of money going around, and obviously not living in the local area, it wasn't a thing. So I barely went until the Championship year, went a lot then, didn't go a lot after that. My dad moved away. I didn't go to many games. And then once I started going by myself, it was just a case of I could afford it, but given work and everything else is quite intense, being an accountant and stuff like that, and everything else I have to going on, I'd never been to another one since. It's one of those weird things for me that I've just somehow managed to artfully avoid. And I don't know how, because I've been to lots of other grounds to see other teams, but I just for some reason
necessarily as a West Ham fan when they're there.
Yeah, it's just very odd in that way. I just somehow. Oh no, wait, that's a lie. I've been to 2. I went to a Charlton preseason friendly in 2015, something like that. Martin Samuelson played, so it would have been around that time. But that was a preseason friendly, and that's because someone I know who's a Charlton fan who wanted to take their son to their first ever game, so it was like, "Hey, do you want to? Should we all go together?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right." But that's the only 2 games I've ever been, and that was sitting in the home end as well. So that's
all right. They're
the only 2 away games I've ever been to.
I've been to a few in my time. I started supporting West Ham in 1966-67 season when I was 4 years old, That was, well, my first experience of West Ham was at home to Newcastle in that season. And, as I've said many times, the only thing I remember about it is being shit scared when the whole crowd started cheering when Bobby Moore, Jeff Hurst and Martin Peters walked out onto the pitch. That's my only memory of that game. But, through my formative years growing up until I was about 11, my brother always used to say to me, "Oh God, Clive, he supports the First Division," because I never knew what team I really wanted to support. Even though my mum and dad had introduced me to West Ham, they claimed to be West Ham supporters, but the only game they ever went to was the game they took me and my immediately older brother to. But I started actually going to the games when I was probably about 14. The first game I ever went to was a midweek cup game, and me and two of my mates bunked off school at lunchtime, and we were at Upton Park by about 5 o'clock. It was great, and from then onwards I kind of got the bug, went to quite a few away games. In fact, I think there's probably a handful of stadiums that I could list by name that I haven't been to. I've been to Goodison, I've been to Anfield, I've been to Main Road, I've been to Old Trafford. All the major grounds I've been to. Yeah. Can't say I was ever very confident about getting home. Many of them, because back in the day when I was younger, and going into the games, there was a lot of violence and stuff, so it was very difficult. It was a very difficult time, but so obviously, not too many away games, which is understandable, under the circumstances. Myself, I was always bloody skint when I was a kid, but I discovered a way of making money, and that's by paper rounds, going out on a bread van, and earning yourself a tenner for the day or something, and then, you do that 4 or 5 times during the week, you've got 40 quid. It's more than enough to go to a game with, like a train fare to Newcastle back then was probably about 8 quid, so it was quite accessible when you were earning a bit of money. But if you didn't, then you couldn't go. And that's how it was. That's how it's always been, and that's probably how it'll always be. Moving on slightly, since you started supporting West Ham, what's your favourite West Ham moment?
It's a good question. I don't know. I forget stuff so easily, Budgie. I'm the worst at it. I really am. I'm
kind of terrible for that as well. I've got a memory
absolute sieve in my brain. It's a problem. I mean, there's a couple. I mean, I remember the last game at Upton Park fairly well, mainly because I watched it at the pub, so I couldn't get tickets because, again, I didn't have a season ticket that year, and tickets were like gold dust, and I just couldn't. It was a struggle to get one. I had a couple of offers that were just really expensive, and I was like, I want to go, but I don't really have that sort of money. And so I ended up staying and doing videos on Hammers Chat for it. But I ended up watching it in the pub with my mum's boyfriend, who's a Man United fan. So that was fun.
All right.
That was
I
fun.
can imagine,
yeah. And because again, if everyone watches the watch-alongs, there's often comments about how is Charlie so calm? Charlie's always so calm. Like because you watch other people's watch-alongs, like when West Ham score, they'll stand up, they'll scream. When West Ham get conceded, they'll stand up, they'll scream, very animated, whereas I'm just quite a level-headed person all of the time. And so we're losing, and I'm like, it is what it is. I'm in a pub full of Man United fans or whatever it is, it's fine. And then when we came back and we scored that winner, I just remember like not being able to not laugh. That was the reaction. It wasn't, it was, oh my God, and then just uncontrollable.
How do I stop myself from pissing myself?
Is how has this happened? It should not have happened. And it just, it just was comical. And then I went back and did the show and everything else. Went back home and did the show and everything else. But I think on pitch, that was probably the one, like, of just complete elation. And then if you're talking about as a West Ham fan, I've had like loads of incredible opportunities because of Hammers Chat that I wouldn't have got otherwise. And as someone who never used to get to many games because of money and everything else, I've managed to have some insane things happen, some insane stories of things like meeting players, getting to go behind the scenes at games, like loads of things that I never ever would have had the opportunity to, that I just like would cherish forever, because I just never would have thought in a million years. But specifically on the pitch, West Ham, I mean, that and beating Arsenal first game of the season was pretty good that year as well, actually, mainly because just almost all of my friends are Arsenal fans. And all of them
always
going,
good to beat another London club.
Good. Yes, of course. Yeah, of course. I don't hold any malice in my heart for any other club, but it's just quite nice when my friends come up to you and go, Payet's quite good, isn't he? And you go, yeah, he is. He is quite
he's
good,
all right. He's not bad, is he?
Right. Yeah. But on the field, it would probably be that last game at Upton Park. And then off the field, I've just had an insane amount of stupid things happen. Yeah.
It's quite well documented that my favourite West Ham moment was the homecoming after the 1980 FA Cup win. That was insane, Charlie. I mean, I didn't get to the game. I couldn't get a ticket. I didn't have the money for a ticket, if I'm honest. I had 2 young kids at the time and so on and so forth. No, that's not true. I didn't have 2 young kids at that time, 1980. Oh, no, I'll tell you what happened. I had a bit of an accident in my car and my insurance was invalid. So it cost me a lot of money to repair the other person's car.
Sure.
So yeah, I got 6 points and like a £300 fine as well. So it really stuffed me for quite a while. But I didn't get to the game. But what I thought I would do is I would go and watch it on the screen in the Boleyn. So my auntie lives in Forest Gate, or did at that time. She now lives in East Ham, but she lived in Forest Gate at the time. So I went and stayed there for the weekend, which was quite the norm when I was going to football. And went along to the Boleyn, had a few jars, and then like they were all going, oh yeah, no, like the homecoming, you got to come to the homecoming. I was like, yeah, I'll be there. I don't actually really remember what happened between the final whistle and when the bus arrived. I have no recollection of it, Your Honour. But what I can tell you is that I could not see the road or the path or any shop fronts for bodies. It was incredible. And there were people sitting on, the roller shutters that they have outside shops.
Yeah.
People were sitting across the top of them, and standing up on flat roofs everywhere. And it was incredible. That's got to be my favourite moment experienced as a West Ham fan. But I think as a on-pitch moment, I think it's got to be Lanzini's goal for the equaliser against Tottenham last year. I think that has to be nobody expected it. Nobody thought we were going to get anywhere near getting a draw out of them. I mean, we were 3-0 down, weren't we?
Like
it was an impossible
like that. Yeah.
I know it was an impossible task, especially if you're asking West Ham to do it. At that point, none of us believed. And then Lanzini hit that ball that just rocketed in, and I think that has to be my favourite on-field moment. I mean, I didn't experience it live, but I was watching it live on TV, and I think that's because at the time I was watching it with 2 Tottenham fans, it made it all the sweeter, But I think that's got to be mine.
I mean, I'll say if you want to so when I'll tell you this story, and I've told it before camera, so people have probably heard it, and I apologize, but I think it just shows like the amount of insane things that I have got because of Hammers Chat. So at the last season at Upton Park, Gio became. I mean, there's a couple I could tell you, but I'll tell you this one. So Gio became friends with someone who worked at the club, and the person who works at the club was like, "Hey, do you want to come? Do you want to come and have a look around? Like, have a look around behind the scenes of the ground before a match one day?" And she was like, "Yeah, of course." And so I went with Gio, and we went and we met this person who works at the club. I won't say who they are for obvious reasons, but
no, of course not. No. Discretion.
I thought you were going to say describe him, and I was like, "Well, he was about 5'7".
No, okay. No,
but yeah,
discretion.
So we went and we met him, and he was sort of very confident that we would just be able to go in with him without any sort of questions being asked. And this was, and like after the game, we were planning on recording a review outside the ground and all this other stuff. And because I'm the tech person at Hammers Chat, I would have like a backpack full of basically just wires, which is obviously one of the more concerning things that someone can try and walk into a very packed stadium. And this is a couple of hours before kickoff as well, right? So I'm walking up to the ground, and I should also state at the time that I had very long hair and a very long beard. Anyway, so we got up to the front, we got up to the main front doors of the Boleyn, the stadium, Upton Park, and we walk in, and there's security guards like on either side who are like checking people's passes and everything as they go through. And the guy walks off in front of us. Hello. Oh, thank you. My girlfriend's passing me dinner. Hang on. Give me 1 second.
You carry on, sir. That's great.
Oh, okay. Thanks so much. Thank you. Right. So anyway, we got up to the front of this ground. Budgie says hello. She waves. So we got up to the front of the ground, and me and Gio are like looking at each other, like, are we going to get away with this? And so we're walking up, and the guy is just striding up, all confident, like he owns the place. He flashes his badge as he walks past, and then like we're just following him. And then as he sort of walks past, he flashes and goes, "Oh, they're with me." And they go, "Yeah, okay." And we're like, just quickly follow in, right? It's not, don't say any questions, just go. And so we go in, go past the first set of security guards. There's a second set of security guards just behind that.
Right.
We went up a flight of stairs, and then there was these doors, right, that would go into where there was like the boxes in the main stand.
Right.
And there was a set of security guards there, and he goes to walk in, flashes his badge, same process. And then as we're about to walk past, they go, whoa, who are these two? And he goes, "Oh no, they're just with me. They're just with me." And they go, "Where are their passes?" And he goes, "Oh, they don't need them. They're with me." And like, again, I'm sitting there knowing that I have a bag full of wires and everything else, and I know how dodgy this is looking. And they've not clocked the bag yet. Because the bag was just a normal backpack. But if I turned sideways, it was like I was a turtle. It was mad, right? And so like, so they haven't clocked this yet. And they go, "Oh, they need passes." And he goes, "Oh, that's fine. Okay, we'll go get passes." Walk back out the doors. The door's shut, and we're like, "What are we going to do?" And he goes, and Gio goes, "Are we going to get passes?" He goes, "Nah, just follow me." We walk up another flight of stairs to a identical corridor, but just on the room above. Does the exact same thing, flashes past, "Are they with me?" And they're like, "Yeah, fine." And so we just walk past, we're like, "Oh my God, how are we getting through this? This should not work. Like, how are we getting through this?" And then so now we're past all of the security. There's no other security guards to check past this point because there's no need for them to be there. And so now he's just showing us round the ground. This is about 2 hours, 3 hours before kickoff, something like that. He's just showing us round the ground. We're just going about all these places that you would never see. Like, unless you went on a ground tour, and even then, sometimes we were going through these corridors that were like just bare brick walls that weren't meant for anyone but staff. Like, there was no need for them to be anywhere. And we're like, "Oh my God, where are we going?" I met Russ for the first time. That was the first time I met Russ Budden, because we went into the box where they do the DJing stuff. I didn't know him as DJ Russie B. I just knew him as the guy who was there. We spoke briefly, and then we left. And then several years later, when I did my Hammers 11, I was like, "We met like several years ago." And he was like, "Yeah, we probably did, yeah." And then we like look around the stadium and everything. And then about 45 minutes before kickoff, oh, that was right. We were going to film. We needed to get press passes from the ground for a different reason, right? For a different thing we were doing that day, for a different filming thing we were doing that day. And so he goes, "All right, so what are you guys doing now?" About 45 minutes before kickoff, we've looked at everything. He goes, "What are you guys doing now?" We're like, "Oh, we've got to go and get press passes from the press officer in the press room." And the press room, down like the side of the stadium on the right hand side. And when you're on the outside, you'd go down past whatever the stand was on the right. I can't remember. Search over Brooklyn, I think. You'd go in that way. And there was like a little side door. And we were like, oh, so we'll just go out the front. He goes, no, I'll take you through the inside. You can get there the quick way. And we were like, oh, perfect. So we go down and we're going down these bare brick, like emergency escape stairs and all this other sort of stuff, going through doors where you can only have passes to click through or whatever. And he opens this door and then there's the press room. But we're like, oh crap, thank you so much. He holds it open. We both walk through. We turn around to look at him and he goes, all right, cheers. Thanks for coming, guys. We'll speak to you later. Bang, shuts the door. We thought he was coming in with us, but no, he just shut the door. And then we're looking at just like a wall because we've come in the fire escape, right, to the press room. And then me and Gio turn around and then just see the world's press sat there having like pie and mash and all of this other stuff. We're seeing like former footballers, people like Martin Keown, Mark Schwarzer. We're seeing like people from Sky, people from BT, people from every football company you can think of. Like Moose is sat there, TalkSport, all these other famous people there. And they're all looking at us, these two people who've just come in through the fire escape. One of whom is a guy who had a really long bushy beard, long hair, looked
and a backpack
full of wires, and they're like, and then like I turn to Gio to be like, the fuck, what do we do? And Gio's just like, his brain's kicked into gear. He just starts striding towards the press officer. He just starts going, and I'm like, oh bollocks. So I start trying to follow him, but he's already like 3 or 4 strides ahead. Then a security guard starts coming from this way and goes, guys, how did you get in here? And then like Gio, he's already head first gone. He's not even speaking to the guy. He's not even probably heard him. I'm like, we need to speak to the press officer. And by this point, Gio speaks to the press officer. I'm like, and he looks at Gio, he's talking to the press officer and go, that guy. And then I just basically run to get to the press officer. And then the security guard comes and then he goes, oh yeah, don't worry, they're meant to be here. And then he walks away. But that moment of like turning around inside the press room of Watson Park, where you used to see all the press conferences and there was the canteen and everything else. And honestly, I recognized every single face from every time you've watched West Ham on the TV, all of the writers you've ever read, everyone just staring at them like, are we about to die? And I was like, it was terrifying. Great, but terrifying. But that's like some of the stuff that we've been lucky enough to do because of Hammers Chat that you just never would have gotten to do under any other circumstance. And I can say that Mark Schwarzer probably thought I was going to try and kill him. There we go. It's an honor that a few people have, and I'm one of those people.